guys, welcome to National Education Cycle. Today we will learn how to design. Uh, I am Sanskar, your MC staff B2B marketing. So let's begin. Alright, so before we begin, I'll tell you by the end of the video what you will be learning. So by the end of this video, you should know all the do's and don'ts of design, know how to make a good design, understand the basic principles of design, and be able to make engaging design. Moving on, why do we need design actually? This is something I faced when I was beginning to design things. And what I would like to say is design results from human decision. Like, it's my decision to put this GIF here. It's my decision how I want to communicate things. It's my decision how I want things to go. So basically, in an overall view, why we need design is the way we decide that someone seeing something, the way things are supposed to flow, is just on us. Like how we want the design to be is based on our decision. As simple as that. Moving on, what is design actually? Design is actually how we communicate what an object does or its function through its shape and form. Design is also the process we undertake to solve a problem. Like think about this baseball glove for a moment. If you try to catch that ball in an empty hand without any gloves, it will hurt. And a glove is a solution to that problem. So a glove is designed to help us catch this ball easily. So that is what is design. Now coming to visual design. What is actually visual design? Visual design aims to shape and improve the user experience through considering the effects of illustration, photography, typography, space, layouts, colors on the usability of products and their aesthetic appeal. I know it's a lot of heavy words, but it's very simple actually. Design involves all these elements to ensure whoever is watching, they are giving attention to it. The idea is to catch the attention. I will be telling more you about this. So before I begin, I want to share the elements of visual design. These are few things that you need to keep in mind while designing anything, because since it's a visual design, it's something that intrigues our brain directly. We see it and we treat it as it is, directly how it is viewable. So these are few terms I'll be explaining you as we move on. So to begin with, rhythm. Now, rhythm in design is important because everything that you are putting should be very consistent, very rhythmic. Because, like, imagine a poster which is very cluttered with text of random things, like multiple fonts are used, uh, like text of random sizes are used. There is no, you know, visual ability to see that thing because it's very not rhythmic. Rhythm helps us, to view something very constantly, very easily. Like, say, for example, your keyboard is designed by a rhythm. Things are placed in a manner where you can type it. Now, rhythm is important. If things were like say your A key was bigger than your W key and things, then you will be confused like what's the purpose of a bigger key in your keyboard. So that is why rhythm in a design is important. Now coming to balance. Balance again, it's something, it's very close to rhythm, but then you need to understand balance is something there are when you try to put things into a design. If things are not balanced properly, like you'll find an empty space somewhere and it won't look very good. So try, when I say trying to balance things, like try to fill the areas in a poster or in a design in a manner that it does not look like weighted onto one side or very focused on one side, and like some area is absolutely neglected and not used in a design. So you can understand this when you actually make a design, but for now you need to understand that balance means distributing things and elements into a design equally, so that it does not look very heavier on one side. Moving on, I'll talk about proportion. Now, again, you might confuse because now you're talking about proportion. You said you want things to be balanced, but when I say about proportion, consider like there is a something that you want to pull the eyes to. Like say, I'll take an example like go on a global volunteer project and you want to highlight global volunteer. So you need to manage the proportion where the rest of the sentence is small but global volunteer looks big. So the focus is going, the attention is going as per the proportion. The thing that is bigger gathers more proportion like in usual life. For example, a bold text is proportionately more eye-catching than a normal regular text. So that is where proportion kicks in. Now coming to contrast. When I say about contrast, it's very common because there is contrast in a lot of things that we do. For example, like when we choose our outfit, we try choosing contrasting outfits to stand out. So if we are wearing a dark colored pant, we prefer a lighter shade of top. Simple as that. So when it comes to design, your contrast is very much necessary. Again, the whole reason in design is to catch the attention. Now, if your design is absolutely, I can say numb because it does not have a place where your attention is going, it lacks contrast. Sorry. So contrast is very very essential when it comes to visual design. We use contrast in so much, like contrast is very common in visual design. Talking about using different colors to put a highlight, or talking about using a different font altogether. Also like putting something in the background and then putting a black filter on it, and so just so that the text displayed in front of the design is visible. That is what contrast does to you. Like it adds an extra spice to your design and ensures the visibility is ensured for the message that you are trying to communicate. Now coming to dominance. Dominance is something again which is very similar to contrast but it's different. Dominance is about what element is should be overpowering considering all the elements present uh, in the design. Like, say, if you are making a design that has a coat in it, so the coat should be the most dominating one, apart from other things that are used in that design. So there can be a background picture, there can be some colored filters, there can be black filters, but the highlight should be the coat and the name of the person who coated it. So that is where this particular thing is dominating over everything else. Now coming to unity. Uh, so unity is something that is very very important because when you put so many things in a design, all of this needs to need not stand out. All of these things needs to stay together and complement each other, and as a whole, they should give out a picture that is evoking an emotion or telling a story. So the idea is every element is united to tell a message that you want to give. So yeah, I by mistake made Microsoft's logo, although it says much about the company these days. Moving on, there is an important concept called visual flow. Visual flow is actually how your eye moves when you see a piece of content. So if your content is in this shape, a rectangular shape in a landscape mode, you'll preferably first see this part of the thing of the poster, and then your eye starts to move in this direction because we are used to read from left to right, and that's how eye by default starts moving from left to right. But slowly, since it's a poster and not just text, it will try to go down. So first your focus comes here, then it moves to the secondary area, and then finally to here. So usually when we design, we try to avoid this area to put important things. We can put other things that are not so important in this region, because our eye movement focuses on these three areas primarily. So consider using visual flow while you design in the future. Moving on, content that we use. Now, for majorly, like, we will be creating an ISEC these kinds of poster that includes a country promotion poster, project promotion poster, booklet for a project or a city, like this is for IGV or ICX. Moving on, there is a A3 or A4 poster. These are very common for putting up in colleges and universities, where it can be about anything. It can be about events, it can be about normal art projects. Next is ad posts. Ads are something, probably the MC takes care of it, but ad posts are something also we can make. Moving on, there is Facebook event cover. These are of a different dimension. The idea is to catch the attention of whoever is looking for events. And there is Instagram stories that you guys can make, and also the very old Facebook posts. So these are the type of content that we use. Now we will move on to Blue Book. As you know, like, Blue Book is our brand book, our basic. Anyone who creates ISEC designs must be thorough with Blue Book, because it has all the necessary branding elements that is needed, and all the guidelines that you need to follow. Maybe I'll be telling you more about this, but you can refer this link to find out more. Uh, yeah, moving on. So I'll be telling you about our logo. Our logo is in these four colors. This is white, blue. This is blue. This is black. This is white, black. You can find this logo in the marketing hub, which will be shared again with you. So for the logo, you need to keep in mind a breathing room should be there. You cannot just put the logo anywhere, and the logo should have minimum of a distance that is equal to the height of the logo, and that distance should be maintained from both left, right, top, and bottom margins. And these this is necessary, as if you are missing that kind of space, it's kind of a violation. Previously, like, LCs used to be charged for doing violations, but now the regulations have changed. But still, ensure that you are following this route. Moving on, these are also considered as violations, where you cannot use an old logo. This is one of the old logos. You cannot just compress the logos. You cannot tilt the logos and use it. You cannot change the colors of the logos, and you cannot change the font, or you cannot add these kinds of things. Also, about this one particular, you should avoid adding this blue logo or logos with too much things going in the background. Try having a plain background thing for adding logo. Brand endorsement. These are actually our product brands on their own. However, they must include powered by logo as an endorsement. Like, say, when you are using a global volunteer logo, you should not use normal ISEC. Instead, use powered by ISEC logo with it. Also, when these are other forms, this is ISEC human. I'll be telling you more about ISEC human. This is something that you can use in place of the ISEC logo if you are not having that much space. Now, this is something you need to take care of. So whenever there is something associated by ISEC but not directly ISEC, you can use the powered by logo when it comes to you making posters about Newsweek Forum, Global Village, and other things that we do. Definitely use the powered by logo. So these are few of our colors. So you can find these colors in Blue Book to use. This is a palette that we commonly use. So definitely try these. Now these are few new gradients that should be applied, that can be applied. So, like, if you've seen a recent ISEC post, these gradients are very common. So you can actually use these. Their color codes are given. But ensure when you are using these gradients, it should be applied in a 45-degree manner. Moving on, our font. Basically, we use Lato as our principal font. So all the things, if you can see here, the main font should be in Lato. So Lato has this whole entire range of font. I Preferably you can pair up even Lato fonts. So try, if you're using Lato black, skip Lato bold and try Lato regular to com- complement it. Similarly, Lato light with Lato bold goes good as a complement. I'll tell you more about complementary fonts as we proceed, but this is our main font. We use it almost everywhere. You can find it in almost every ISIC post. Uh, like here, it's, if you can see, a secondary font is also added to ensure that it looks good actually together. So the primary font is Lato in big, and the other things are smaller, and this entire thing adds to one proper viewing experience of a design. So this is another example of that. Now we will move on to the software. So this is actually, some people have much headache about, like, Photoshop is really really difficult. So I want to give you guys options to work around. Now, first thing first, Adobe Photoshop is actually a professional software, and if you're having the patience, if you are ready to learn and get past the learning curve, it's actually very, very helpful as it provides definitely more control. Now, the cons is that it's actually hard to learn, but then I feel very comfortable in Photoshop, and maybe someday, if you want to learn the software, it's going to be very, very helpful. Coming to PowerPoint, PowerPoint is also a beginner to amateur level. It's not professional, but then it does the job. Like, we are making few designs for you guys that are done with PowerPoint so that you guys can edit. So that's one power of PowerPoint, that the learning curve is not that much because we are very used to the software, and it's actually easy to collaborate. Like, you can share a file with anyone and they can also make modifications. And the cons is obviously like less control than Photoshop provides you very much control about things that you can change and make it as per your visualization. Now, coming to another software called Canva, it's a recently new software. You can also consider Adobe Spark. Now, Canva and Adobe Spark are beginner level software. It's like ready to make templates are available. They are very easy to make. Now, coming to the cons, actually, these software need high internet connectivity, like not exactly high, I meant very high internet dependency. So if there is something wrong with the internet, then you'll fuck up things. Otherwise, they are also good to go. You can create designs with that as well. Now I'll tell you a step-by-step guide how you can make design. So these are the few steps. First, you need to select the size, define the graphic perspective, define your image or vector, then select the filter, select the framework, and then finally put in the typography. Now I'll explain you step by step. First is select the size. These are the few sizes. Your Facebook event page cover goes a 1920 by 1080p. That is actually roughly the size of the screen. Then your country promotion posts. These are for Facebook and they are 3000 by 3000 pixels. Uh, Next is projector motion posters. This is one dimension that you can take a note. All of these are in pixels. This is somewhat a landscape mode of Facebook post. Next is the add post template. This is something that is done so that the ad actually looks more visible. Like in ads, there are call to action buttons integrated. So if you make a poster of this size, your content will be highly visualized or visible. Moving on, a poster of normal A3 or A4, you can find these dimensions on the internet as well. So these are the dimension in pixel. City booklet or project booklet or LC booklet, these things, try to keep it in A4, but then otherwise you can make digital copies of these. These can be regular ratio, one of those that you can find in PowerPoint. And coming to Instagram story is 1820 by 1988, sorry, 1080 by 1920. That means it's a vertical format of the screen size as per your phone. Now, so we'll move to how do you define a graphic perspective. So you can make it either in a photograph plus text manner, or you can go on a vector or illustration plus text manner. So these are the two perspectives that you need to take. Like I'll be explaining along with these two perspectives simultaneously as we proceed how you can make things. First, define your image or vector. So suppose say you want to communicate a message about productivity. So you can get photos about productivity on these few websites, and Splash is my favorite. They have really good high quality pictures that you can use in your images. And when you want vectors, you can go to Flaticon and FreePic. FreePic is a huge ass library about vectors, and Flaticon has just the icons if you want. It's very helpful. These icons, I use them all the time. Sometimes what I do is I combine these two things together to make a design, but right now we'll focus on these things separately. Now, now that you've got your image or your vector, we will be proceeding to a filter. Now, as you can see, this is a normal picture. Now, if I put a black filter, it somehow reduces the opacity. Black filter is nothing but a black layer added and reducing its opacity or increasing its transparency, so as to just slightly make the background thing visible so that we can get focus on our text. Other are solid colors. If you can see, this is a yellow uh, gradient or filter. Sorry, this is a yellow filter. It's a solid color filter. It's a single filter, and this one is a gradient. It's going from red to yellow, if you can see properly. So that is that. And so first you get the element. So we use filters basically not in illustration ones, not in vector ones, but in the photograph ones, because we need to bring focus to the text. So first add the background image, maybe vector, maybe image. Then you put the filter, post which we will have select a framework. So this is one of the frameworks that you can use. Your content or typography here, as in what text needs to go, then a call to action, and then finally your logo. But if you don't know what call to action is, a call to action can be a link that they need to go to. A call to action can be, uh, say, a Facebook page or an Instagram handle or something else as well. The idea is it speaks to the customer directly, like the viewer directly. It has an action associated to it. Now, the content or typography is the text that you want to put it in. Like in this region outside, there is your image or your illustration, and this area might be used to put in the text. Here, your call to action, here, your logo, and this is another format. So, a few tips for the visual framework. Try to pair the fonts that complement the hero image. By this I mean the image in the background. So your font needs to blend with each other, the image and your brand. So there are several kinds of images available, but we need to stick to very specific kinds of images that actually make sense. So if you are talking about global talent projects, it needs to be very professional. But if you're talking about global volunteer projects, it needs to be very very fun. It needs to be about how you enjoy volunteering in different countries. So these things need to be kept in mind, and also the fonts associated. So if whether you are choosing a formal font or you are choosing a funky font, these things needs to complement each other. Now, don't place text over the busy part of the image. Like try to if you do that, your text gets unreadable. One, secondly, it hides the main part of your image. So you don't want to do that. You want the good portion of your image to be visible, and the portion that you feel you can sacrifice, put your text as per that. And that's how you design your own framework. You need not stick to the frameworks I say suggested, because there are more frameworks as well. Now, how you can contrast with typography is you can make your text legible with a few tricks. A subtle shadowing of your text can make it more visible because it adds a black layer behind the text. Also, what you can do is add a color overlay like this that makes it very helpful to read. Also, what you can do is vary your font style, not your font families. Like I was saying about Lato, there are different styles in within the same family, and you can use it. Like say, for example, in this is a bold one, and this is a light version. So both of this together complement each other, and the message is very clear. Like our attention goes here first to this number, then it goes here, and then it goes here. So that's how it helps. So next is the art of visual storytelling. Like we had, storytelling is very very important actually. So I will start with why. You know, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, all these trendy websites are based on visuals. You know, the facts bore, stories actually tell is a common saying. But I will even go further by saying like stories in text bore, stories in visually, stories told visually engage and sell. So like the world has actually changed. It's the world is in our smartphones, and we prefer seeing things when associated with visuals. So that is the importance of visual storytelling. And to be a good content creator, graphic designer, you must master the art of visual storytelling. uh, because at the end, all of us marketers are attention seekers, weaving elaborate strategies, plans just to catch the attention of a potential customer. Well, design is our weapon, and our stories are the ammo. Uh, this is pretty fancy. I just came up with it. So yeah, this is it. Please focus on the things that I discussed. Keep in mind all the tips, all the elements of the visual design. Definitely keep in mind what the storytelling needs to be, because in a graphic you can only tell so much of stories. You know, the stories are actually important because when you put some context to a graphic without a story, it's just Instagram post. So if you want to make it something more, definitely associate with a story. I know it's very hard to tell a story in one picture, but then that is the art. So yeah, thank you for sitting with me this entire time listening to this audio and this tutorial. So I want to congratulate you, Mr. Future Designer. Maybe hopefully someday you will make great designs. You'll be a great content creator and visual storyteller. So thank you guys. See you next time soon. Bye bye. Take care.